Taylor, live from Brazil. Nate, what can you tell us about Andy Reid's offensive game plan for this opener tonight?
Yes, Hannah, it is here at Corinthians Arena where the Chiefs hope that this is the launching point to a new start for the Kansas City Chiefs offense. And when I say that, Hannah, I mean explosion, right? So much of last season for the Chiefs was about dinking and dunking, elongating drives, and letting Mahomes figure it out on third down. But with this new offense that starts with Josh Simmons at left tackle making his NFL debut tonight, the Chiefs hope that they can be more explosive on offense, not only from a running situation with having a healthy Isaiah Pacheco and Kareem Hunt as a duo, but Patrick Mahomes has three weapons that he really believes he can throw the ball deep to really exploit the Los Angeles Chargers secondary. That, of course, is the speedy receiver Xavier Worthy, Tyquan Thornton, and you have Hollywood Brown, who did not play in the preseason but will play tonight and be a key figure in the Chiefs offense. So for the Chiefs, a lot of what starts tonight is what they hope will be a situation that they can maintain through the course of the season, which is more explosive plays, more deep passes from Mahomes, and obviously more points on the scoreboard starting tonight in Sao Paulo.
Nate, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you so much. And for more on those deep passes, last season, Mahomes ranked outside the top 25 in completion percentage, yards per attempt, and QBR on throws of at least 15 yards downfield. Now, all those numbers were the worst of any season in his career. All right, so the gang is here. We have RC, we have Swagoo, we have Mina. It is real, folks, right? The first weekend. And a reality, Mina, for Kansas City is that Rashee Rice, of course, is not going to start the season for him, for them. So what would you like to see from that offense tonight?
Well, I'd like to see what Nate talked about, which is Patrick Mahomes throwing downfield. We're obviously going to say that throughout the season, especially after last year. You showed the numbers of how unexplosive they were, but I would argue it's especially important in this game because of the matchup. I think structurally, the Chargers defense under Jesse Minter is going to look pretty similar to how they played last year. A lot of shell coverage, keeping things in front of them, tackling, and they're really good at it. They were fourth in EPA per play versus short passes last season. But they can be had over the top with those young corners. The question for Kansas City is twofold. One, pass protection. You got a rookie left tackle, potentially against Khalil Mack, Josh Simmons. And then the other side of it, of course, is whether or not Worthy or Hollywood Brown can show chemistry downfield with Mahomes, because it felt like last year Mahomes and Worthy just weren't on the same page when he did try to throw deep. That has to change.
Yeah, and you also have to think, Mina, go back to early last season. You remember this was the game where Rashee Rice was injured. And when Rashee Rice was injured, we saw Xavier Worthy. There was the deep pass down the left sideline. Late in the game, he got in a bunch formation. He caught the football on a crosser, and we saw the yards after the catch and that explosion. Those are some of the things they're going to look to do tonight, but you have to have protection. So much has been made about Patrick Mahomes not being the guy that's pushing the ball down the football field, but as we saw in the Super Bowl, a ton of that had to do with the ability to have time in the pocket to let those routes develop downfield. And if we could see some of that tonight, it seems that throughout the preseason, that was a huge emphasis for not only Patrick Mahomes, but Matt Nagy and this entire offense.
It was funny to see that graphic when Hannah first started talking about the Chiefs with Pat Mahomes. Worse. And under there should have been still went to the Super Bowl. This team is going to figure it out, man. But ultimately, you want to see those layers as well to the offense. I felt like a lot of times last year, because of the frustration, it was almost trying to force themselves into trying to make big plays. I want to see Pacheco get back involved as a heavy hitter, a guy out of the backfield, but also they used him in the screen game. His explosiveness was an asset to this football team, and hopefully they can get that back, along with Kareem Hunt being a bruiser and a physical runner as well. Y'all remember, like I say this all the time, the Kansas City Chiefs, when they won Super Bowls and been at their best, the rushing game has been a big part of that. Not only that, a second layer to this is, I know Travis Kelce is still there, and I expect Travis Kelce to be an integral part. But who else is going to work that middle of the field as well? Will that be Noah Gray? Will they have another tight end that asserts himself this season where he becomes someone Patrick Mahomes can rely on as well? I'm not pushing towards the future, but they should be thinking in that regard and building some rapport with some of these guys behind Travis as well. Not saying he won't be a big part of it, but I want to see multiple layers to this offense. And in that regard, I think they can be explosive if they go that direction.
Yeah,
Chiefs, it's a step one for them, trying to get to a 4th straight Super Bowl. What will you be watching for most closely tonight with KC?
I'd like to see if Kansas City looks better running the ball. You know, for all of the concerns valid about the lack of an explosive passing game, they also really lacked an explosive rushing attack last year. 32nd league-wide in the percent of runs that went for 10 yards or more. And they go up against a Chargers defense that was solid against the run last year, but lost a player who I think was their best run-stuffing defensive tackle in Poona Ford across town to the Rams. So I think that's a weakness Kansas City can attack. And whether they can do so, I think, will go a long ways toward determining whether the passing game can be more explosive as well.
Mina, on the other side, we just got some news. Chargers guard Mekhi Becton questionable tonight with an unspecified illness, and this is for an O-line that already has some uncertainty. Rashawn Slater out, other pieces moving around. How concerned are you about that unit tonight against that KC front?
Well, Phil, I don't know if you've heard of him, but there is a player on the other side of the ball who might be the best defensive tackle in football, and that would be, of course, Chris Jones. Not the matchup you want to face with a weakened interior offensive line, weakened entire right side of the O-line, because, as you alluded to, they suffered that horrible injury and had to move Joe Alt to the opposite side to take the place of Rashawn Slater. I'll be interested in seeing how Kansas City and Steve Spagnuolo approach this. Something they like to do is move Chris Jones around. Sometimes they'll play him on the edge on passing downs. But with this injury, the combination of him and George Karlaftis, I think, could present a significant challenge for the Chargers. Look for them to try to orient the offense away from that side of the offensive line. I would also see Marion Hampton as being a check down option for Herbert.
Herbert sacked a career-high 41 times last year. That O-line's got to keep him upright in what is technically a division home game. MK, thanks so much. We'll talk to you again in a bit.
To talk about again, we're going to turn to one of our favorite games, and that is locks and keys. We're going to break down Sunday's big games with something we guarantee will happen. That's a lock. Also something that will play a big role in determining the outcome. That's a key. And we're going to start in L.A. The Rams hosting the Texans on Sunday. Mina, give me a lock for this game.
I got Kobe Turner, the Rams defensive tackle, getting a sack. So the Texans changed their offensive line. I'm not sure it got better, though, particularly looking at the players that they added on the interior from Seattle and Minnesota. And Kobe Turner, for all the talk about Jared Verse, and he was incredible last year, Kobe Turner is like one of the most underrated defensive tackles in the NFL. He just gets to the quarterback, and I think he's going to have opportunities to do so in this one against this remade Texans offensive line.
Boy, let's hope that offensive line is better. Okay, RC, what do you think will be the key in this one?
Well, it's like me and Mina just had the same phone call. It's going to be protecting C.J. Stroud. Last year, we saw C.J. Stroud take a step back, but it wasn't because the youngster couldn't play or he didn't understand the offense. It's because he was constantly under siege. And when you play in a defensive line like the Los Angeles Rams that can absolutely get after the quarterback, it's going to be paramount to keep their third-year quarterback upright.
And once again, ladies and gentlemen, you can just get that gong out, because for the picks, we are all on
Really?
Texans.
I'm actually shocked.
This
I'm
surprises me.
surprised. I knew I was
I
going
didn't
to
think
be.
it was going to go this
I'm
way.
actually shocked. And I have on Rams colors, and that is disrespectful of me.
I mean, I think that
Y'all
defense
know what
only
I was
holds them to
thinking?
14 points. Yes, Swaggo.
Y'all know what I was thinking? I was thinking about Matthew Stafford and not getting a lot of reps this offseason. That played into my thought process.
And let's not play around. Like, the Texans defense isn't overall better than the Rams are on the defensive side of the ball as well.
Yeah, Mina had him number 2. I listened to Mina. All right, now to Tampa Bay.
Defense is after it.
The Bucs are looking for their 5th straight division title. How about that? They host the NFC South rival, the Falcons. RC, what is a lock to happen in this one?
For me, Bucky Irving getting 20 touches. Listen, I don't play fantasy football, but I often read the fantasy football app. And Bucky Irving was one of those players that was up there with the Saquons, up there with the Bijan Robinsons. We watched him ascend the entire end of the season last year. He was a guy who game after game got stronger, got more physical, made more big plays, and I think at the start of this season, he's going to be a priority and a focal point of the Tampa Bay offense.
So building upon last season. Okay, Marcus, what's the key in this NFC South matchup?